Meera's Friends, the Trees, written by Jaishree Misra and Geetika Jain, narrated by Kirtana Kumar.
Meera's Friends, the Trees. Meera lived in Uliana, a tiny village that nestled in the shadow of the giant Himalayan mountains. Unlike the children of faraway cities, she had no school to go to, but learnt all her lessons from the countryside around her. When she wanted to chat, there was the sparkling cold river that flowed nearby, gurgling and babbling in laughter at everything she said. When she wanted to play, there were squirrels that scampered and mountain goats that skipped lightly away to hide. When she wanted to sing, there were, of course, the birds who would be her chorus. But best of all, there were her trees. Hundreds and thousands of them, stretching from the edge of Meera's village like an army of green soldiers all the way across to the mountains. Meera enjoyed nothing better than to wander among them, marveling at how not one of them looked anything like the next. There were tall and stately ones, short and stumpy ones, some old and gnarled with fingers like her grandmother's, and some young and pliant like Meera's own elastic body. There were some that were so abundant in leaves, they formed a perfect green roof over Meera's head when it rained. There were others that allowed the sun to come peeping through, dropping little golden dots onto the ground that danced away if Meera tried to catch them. The trees were like a family, really, each with its own looks and characteristics, and, like the women of the village, liked nothing better than to whisper and murmur to each other all day. Meera knew, though, that they did much more than whisper to each other all day. Her father had told her that most people like trees for their fruit or their shade. What many people did not realize, however, was that all the time that the trees were making their flowers and fruit, their unseen roots were working hard too, keeping the soil together whenever the river flooded, preventing landslides from sweeping Meera's village away. Meera so loved her trees, she even had names for all those in the copse near her house. There was Nani Tree, who was the old gnarled one with a giant curved lap into which Meera fitted perfectly. There was Balu Tree, who was big and black and who, if you rounded a corner without concentrating, could be mistaken for being a grizzly bear. There was Chotu Tree, who was growing alongside Meera, but now rapidly outstripping her in height, developing sinews and muscles where Meera's limbs were still as thin as sticks. Perhaps the queen of all trees was Devi Tree, the one the village folk had worshipped for centuries, believing that good spirits lived among her branches somewhere. She was the only tree that Meera had never climbed, but only because she didn't like to bother the good spirits by clambering all over their home. But one evening, Meera returned home to very bad news. She and her mother had just finished worshipping at the Devi Tree and were putting down the bundle of twigs they had collected for firewood when her father called them indoors. "Terrible news," he cried. "Those men from the city came again today. They wouldn't tell us anything, even though we did our best to find out. But I'm sure of it, from the way they looked at their trees and how pleased they seemed. I heard them say the word teak. Yes, it's our trees they want." Meera felt a cold hand grip and squeeze her heart. She looked at her mother and asked, "What does that mean? Will they take our trees away?" Her mother's expression told
Sample complete. Ready to continue?